What is up, chocolatiers? Usually when it's been a couple days since something's released, I just kind of call it an L for the channel, and I usually just kind of keep it to myself. For the chocolate awards, I'll talk about it, something like that, right? But this movie has been on my mind so much, I have re-watched this movie. And the movie in question, you already know from the title, is Guillermo del Toro's rendition of Frankenstein. Now, this version of Frankenstein is very different. This is a retelling through del Toro's eyes. And I saw a bunch of complaints today, which is what made me want to do this review to start with, because people were going, do we really need another Frankenstein when this was first announced? You know, same with Dracula, whatever, right? And I'm just kind of sitting here thinking, yes, we do, because I'm all for new tellings of stories. And especially with stories like this that I really love. These are the cornerstones of horror, of Gothic literature. And I don't really want the same thing copy and pasted every single time. If you're going to do it again, I want something different. Right? And so I feel like with that, that's also the point of art as well. And that's what Guillermo del Toro really does here. He takes something very familiar and paints it into something hauntingly human. Now, I do want to talk about the cast as well, because that's what had me intrigued with this before I even watched the film. Because I am a big Jacob Elordi fan. I know that he's gets a lot of hate. He's criminally underrated, I feel like. People love to clown on him for Euphoria or even Saltburn or Kissing Booth, which I haven't seen that. But the other two in question I have seen. I really think that he gives some of his best performances in those shows, despite how you feel about the writing or, you know, Saltburn, something like that. I think that he does a great job. Here, he is phenomenal again. As a creature, he delivers such pain, rage, and innocence all in one, and it's very tragic. Oscar Isaac as Victor Frankenstein gives one of the best performances here, hands down. I feel like this is the version of Victor that feels truly haunted by his creation, as you see from his eyes a lot in this performance. Christoph Waltz is also perfect in this movie. He's not in it a whole lot, but I would love to see that he was here. I actually didn't know he was in the movie. And Mia Goth, who is doing several roles here, is very eerie, elegant, and she feels like she was born to exist in a Guillermo del Toro movie. And speaking of del Toro, I just feel like this man is on another level. There's a scene early on where you see the boat that they crafted, the prologue, and the textures, the lighting, practical effects. It is pure cinema. I don't know how you could sit here and complain. There's always one. There's going to be people out there that do that. But I just feel like del Toro understands the beauty of the grotesque better than anybody working today. And it's that perfect balance that you get in this movie between that horror and heartbreak. You get these painterly shots that look like they were literally straight from a dream or even a nightmare in some cases. And this movie deserves to be in theaters. I hate that Netflix did their thing again, buying it, putting on stream. Actually, I don't know if they bought it. I think it was just made for that. But they put it out in some theaters. Whatever. It's been perfect for Halloween season. You put that out at the end of the month, let it coast into November, since no big releases are coming to the end of the month. And I just feel like this is art that needs to be seen in its best form. Now, I have an OLED Sony TV. It's very nice, and it looked very good on there. I also have a regular 4K TV, and when I watched it on there, compression rates had me going crazy. So I stopped it, went back and finished it in there. I think that this movie is brilliant. Del Toro leans into Mary Shelley's tragedy, but filters it through his compassion for misunderstood creatures, which is why it works so well. He doesn't really see Frankenstein's monster as a villain. He sees him as a mirror of humanity's loneliness. And I feel like you get everything here that you want. You get that Gothic horror, you get some of that sci-fi wonder, some of the emotional storytelling that you want from a movie like this. It's, you know, designs are something like Crimson Peak and Pan's Labyrinth with a touch of that Shape of Water poetry. I feel like the pacing and structure for this film is very good, because this movie is 2 hours and 30 minutes and it literally flies by. I watched a 2-hour movie the other day. One of my reviews I talked about, Die My Love, and I felt like that movie was about 3 hours long. And Frankenstein, like I said, is 30 minutes longer than that movie, and it doesn't feel like that. The way del Toro structures it in chapters, almost like a storybook, keeps you very hooked. And by the time you even meet the creature, which is halfway through the movie, you are so invested that it doesn't feel like time has passed. Guillermo del Toro doesn't really miss, I feel like, so kind of got that going for him. The man ain't missed yet. And I feel like he's one of those few filmmakers who still makes art in an industry obsessed with algorithms. And that's something that we need. And I hate, like I said, with Netflix with this, I feel like they try to combine that with just put it straight to streaming. But this film is living proof that cinema is not dead. That's why I'm giving Frankenstein a 10 out of 10. Like, it's just one of those movies that just feels like It's elevated art, but it's also just a movie that is just inherently good. And with that, I'll catch you guys on the next one.